Ôi chọc. Ông
The court is now in session. Today, the chamber continues to hear the remaining testimony of witness Chun Samon and begins hearing testimony of a witness to TCW 917. Ms. Tia Siu Huang, please report the attendance to the parties and other individuals to today's proceedings. Grazie, Mr. President. For today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present. Mr. Nguyen Chi is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has waived his right to be present in the courtroom. The waiver has been delivered to the greffier. The civil party who is to conclude his testimony today, that is Chun Samon, is present in the courtroom. The upcoming witness, that is TCW 917, confirms that to his best knowledge, he has no relationship by blood or by law to any other two accused, that is Nguyen Chi and Khieu Samphan, or to any of the civil parties admitted in this case. The witness took an oath before the Iron Club statue yesterday, and he has Sok Sakita as his duty counsel. They are in the waiting room. Thank you. President, thank you, Mr. Tia Siu Huang. The Chamber now decides on the request by Nguyen Chi. The Chamber has received a waiver from Nguyen Chi, dated 29 June 2016, which states that due to his health, that is headache, back pain, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requests to waive his right to be present at the 29 June 2016 hearing. Having seen the minute court report of Nguyen Chi by the duty daughter for the accused at the ECCC, dated 29 June 2016, which notes that Nguyen Chi has a back pain and feels dizzy when he sits for long, and he has a bit of flu, and recommends that the Chamber shall grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the Chamber grants Nguyen Chi his request to follow today's proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs by an audio-visual means. The Chamber instructs the AV unit personnel to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nguyen Chi can follow. That applies for the whole day. And the Chamber will issue an oral decision regarding the submission by Khieu Samphan's defense on the scope of the internal purchase in relation to the hearing of the upcoming witness to TCW 917. The Chamber received an urgent request submitted on the 24 June 2016 by the defense team for Khieu Samphan to ask the Chamber to clarify the scope of internal purchase in case 002/02, that is document E420. On 22nd June 2016, Khieu Samphan defense team provided a courtesy copy to the parties, and on 23rd June 2016, the Chamber notifies the parties that the Chamber will hear oral responses from the party on 27 June 2016. After having heard the submissions from the parties, the Chamber 1 finds that the proposed testimony of witness to TCW 917 scheduled to testify today falls within the scope of internal purchase in case 002/02 as defined in the closing order, as he possesses relevant information regarding the occurrences of purchase in the East Zone. 2. Proceeds to hear witness to TCW 917 as scheduled. 3. A reasoned decision will follow in due course. And the Chamber hands the floor now to the defense team for Keo Sampon to put further questions to the civil party.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Chun Samon. I would like to continue putting the remainder of the questions I still have to put to you. I'd like to follow up on what you said yesterday. That was yesterday at about 14 hours, 19 minutes and 20 seconds, if I'm looking at the English draft transcript. You stated that you were based on the front line and that you did not know what was happening in the rear. My question to you is as follows. Were you based at the front line during the entire period from 1975 to 1978? And can you say as from when in 1975?
But, Mr. President, it seems that the headphone of the civil party is not working, and I suggest that the defense counsel puts her question again. President, Counsel Antaguse, please repeat your question again, since the civil party is having problem with the headset.
Pas de problème, Monsieur le Président.
No problem, Mr. President.
Please hold on, Counsel. And civil party, do you hear me now? No. Says the civil party. Mr. Chun Samon, can you hear me? It seems that he can, and Counsel, you may proceed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the question I put to you was as follows. Yesterday, you stated that you were based on the front line. And I would like you to tell the Chamber whether you were indeed on the front line as from 1975 up to 1978. In August 1978, that is when you fled to Vietnam. Can you state as from when in 1975 you were assigned to the front line?
When I joined in 1975, I was at the border, and that continued until 1976. And when the fighting started, I remained at the border.
Donc vous dites jusqu'en 1960.
So you say up to 1976. As a matter of fact, you remained on the border from 1975 to 1978. that is the time when you fled to Vietnam. Do I properly understand your testimony?
I was at the front battlefield during 1976 and 77, and later on there was problems and I fled to Vietnam.
Donc pendant la période de
So during the period from 1975 to August 1978, that is when you fled to Vietnam, how regularly did you go back to the rear, if you did go back to the rear?
I never reached the real rear battlefield because I could sometimes retreat a little bit from the front battlefield, but I was never completely detached from the front battlefield due to the intense situation at the border between Vietnam and Cambodia.
Yesterday, you referred to the program of swaps between Vietnam and Cambodia as regards the nationals of both countries, and that was in answer to a question put to you by Judge Laveng. I would like to know when you heard about that program of exchange or swapping for the first time.
Regarding the exchange program between Khmer and Vietnam, it started in 1975, that is after the day of the liberation. We exchanged for the first time at the Kampong Ro district in Svay Rieng province.
Ma question était un petit peu.
My question was somewhat different. I wanted to know when you heard about the exchange program for the first time.
It was in 1975, that is the year the country was liberated, or you could say after 17 April 1975.
Et quand vous en avez entendu parler, vous étiez.
And when you heard about it for the first time, were you already on the front line?
Civil party, please observe the microphone. Answer. No, at that time I did not go to the front battlefield yet.
Est-ce que ça peut vous aider pour situer un...
Would it assist you to situate the month when you heard about it for the first time?
No, I do not recall the month, but I knew that it happened not long after the Liberation Day.
Quand vous dites que ça s'est passé un...
When you say that it happened shortly before the Liberation Day, do you mean it was before the 17th of April 1975?
Civil party, please hold on, and International Deputy Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honour. This is not an objection, but I think there must be a translation issue because the witness just said it was after, not long after the 17th of April 1975, and the question put was when you said that the exchanges occurred before April 1975, and that's certainly not what the witness said. He said it occurred afterwards. It may have been a French translation issue.
Effectivement, je confirme, il y a eu...
Indeed, I note that there was a problem in the French because I heard before, so we need to clarify that. Is it quite clear that the exchange program started shortly after the 17th of April 1975?
Yes, that is correct.
Est-ce que vous avez eu connaissance de...
Were you aware of the manner in which that program was negotiated and between which parties those negotiations were held? Did you know anything about that?
No, I did not know the details. Only the fact that I knew that the exchange program existed, but I did not know about the process of negotiations or whether it occurred at the district or provincial level. Since I did not participate in such a process, I only knew there was an exchange program that happened in 1975.
Et est-ce que vous savez si...
And do you know whether representatives of the Vietnamese authorities came to your area at any point in time as part of that exchange program?
Of course, there had to be authorities from both sides involved in the exchange program, although I did not know the details. President, civil party, please respond to the limit of your knowledge, and if you do not know, please state so, and don't try to guess it. And as a civil party, you must respond to your knowledge, that is in relation to your knowledge concerning the question put to you, and don't try to guess it.
Donc ma question, elle était...
So my question was a bit more specific. My question was whether you personally recalled or attended or was present when the Vietnamese authorities came to your area. Did you hear about it or did you witness it?
No, I did not see or know about it. I only heard the people talking about it. I only heard the people speaking about the exchange.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. I'll go into another line of questioning. You've referred to your intelligence gathering activities on the front line, explaining that your role was to locate and eventually see the weak points of the enemy troops on the border. My question is as follows. When you drafted reports regarding such intelligence, how did you draft them? Were they written or oral reports? What is the nature of those reports?
I made an oral report to my commander.
C'était toujours oral.
Were the reports always oral? And did you have in your team a radio operator who sent reports to distant places, or it was always in a face-to-face exchange with your chief?
Mostly I made oral reports because during the night time we went on a recon mission, and by dawn then I was in a position to provide my oral report. Usually we left for the recon mission at night, and by early morning we returned.
Et est-ce que dans le cadre de votre équipe,
And was there a radio operator in your team who could transmit information to distant places?
Yes, there was. We had a radio that we could call in the artillery to sell at certain locations after we obtained intelligence. And the radio was used for that purpose, so we would call the artillery units to sell a particular location, and that was communicated via radio.
et en dehors de l'unité de...
And apart from the artillery unit, did you have radio communications with other persons and other troops?
Only if there was an attack or we encountered the other side, then we use radio to communicate as well. However, most of the time we use the radio to provide information to the artillery unit to sell the particular locations. For example, we would say the shell did not hit a proper place so that it could rise up about 20 or 30 meters more.
Ma question était un petit...
My question was somewhat different. I wanted to know whether, as part of your radio communications, you could give information to other persons, that is either your chief or the artillery unit. Were there other persons with whom you were communicating? I mean other groups.
The radio was mainly used to call in the support shelling from the artillery unit.
Donc, je dois comprendre de votre...
So should I understand from your testimony that it was solely with the artillery unit that you communicated? Is that the case?
Yes.
Monsieur le Président, j'en ai...
Mr. President, I have no further questions for the civil party.
Thank you, Counsel. And Mr. Chun Samon, as a civil party, you may make a victim's impact statement, if any, concerning the crimes which are alleged against the two accused, Nunchi and Keo Sampon, and harms inflicted upon you during the Democratic Cambodia from 17 April 1975 to 6 January 1979, resulting in your civil party application to claim collective and moral reparations for physical, material, or mental injuries as direct consequences of those crimes. You may proceed if you wish to do so. That is in relation to harms inflicted upon you. Civil Party, Mr. President, Your Honors, my memory does not serve me well, and I would like to read my statement. First, my respects to you, Mr. President, and Your Honors. I joined the Revolutionary Army of Cambodia in May '75. I had complete confidence in the Upper Angkar to lead the country. I sacrificed myself for my nation, my country, and for Cambodian people. I respected the plans of the party, and I implemented and adhered to all disciplines. I myself was engaged in the fighting against the enemy. Sometimes I went without food for 2 to 3 days, and sometimes there was no water to drink. The situation was so miserable. However, as a result, myself and many East Zone soldiers were accused by Angkar of betraying the party. We were arrested and sent for executions. I was in great shock at the time, and I could not believe the act of the regime. I was arrested, and I stood up and made my protest that I was simply a combatant. I did not know about any betrayal. If that was the case, then only commanders were involved, and I wanted the party to find me justice. One of those soldiers beat me with a gun's butt and accused us of betraying the party, of having Yun heads on Khmer bodies. Then the commander ordered them to strip us of our clothes, and we only had the shorts on our body. My right arm was bitten, and it became paralyzed and remained paralyzed until the present time. When it became dark, they used a string to lead us under our arm and walked us to the execution site, that is on the road toward Sambu Pagoda. At the execution site, we were ordered to sit down. There were 7 or 8 of them who were armed with AK rifles, and they pointed the gun behind our back. Then they untied the 4 people at the front and took them to be executed. We could hear each of us hit with 2 clubs, with clubs for 2 times. And those who were not yet beaten screamed, and then they were beaten to death. We were all in great shock. I attempted to flee, and while we were fleeing, they fired at us, and those whose hands were still tied up were killed. 3 of us could escape, and they chased after us, firing at us from behind, and one of us was injured. We jumped into the water at the creek, and they were standing at the bank and fired into the water at us. I tried to swim and tried to escape, and I survived as a result. These were vicious acts inflicted upon me, and it was so miserable than the time that I was at the front battlefield. Another misery was the loss of my relatives, including my elder brother-in-law, who was a new person and was called by Angka to transport visas to the cooperative in 1976. He was arrested and disappeared since. And as a result, his wife became a widow with 3 children, and they are the burdens that I have to take care of them. My elder brother, who had complete trust in Angka and the revolution, and who joins the army since 1970, that is Chundavi Alice Sokyantha. He joins the DK Army in 1970, and he worked at the staff office at the zone. And in 1977, Angka called him to a training session and disappeared since. During the period of Democratic Cambodia, my property was confiscated and put for common use in the cooperative. As a result, I lost all those properties. And finally, I would appeal to the Chamber to find justice for my family. Thank you. President, thank you. And do you have anything else?
Civil party, no. Mr. President, I thank you very much. I believe the civil party may have forgotten his questions. May I seek the floor for civil party to put questions, Mr. President? Civil party. I have 2 questions to ask Uncle Khieu Samphan and Uncle Nguyen Chia. I am not a well-educated person. I understand that they are Khmer as well. Why they divided people into 2 categories: new people and old, and base people or old people? And another question is about the arrest of East Zone soldiers. Why were many East Zone soldiers were arrested without justice? And that included me as well at the time. President, the Chamber wishes to inform Mr. Chun Samon that on 18 January, after hearing the response from accused that they reserve the rights to remain silent, they would like to remain silent to the question put to them. The Chamber advised the accused to inform the Chamber if they wish to respond to the question. The Chamber has informed the Council to work with the accused whether or not the accused would like to respond to the questions put by civil party or witnesses. As of today, the Chamber is not informed that the co-accused have changed their position and thus agree to provide their responses to questions. Pursuant to international and domestic regulations, the Chamber cannot compel the accused to respond to the question as long as they reserve the rights to remain silent. I thank you very much, Mr. Chun Somon. The hearing of the sufferings as a civil party, and as you stated, you went through in the regime has now come to an end. Your testimony will contribute to the ascertainment of the truth. You may not be accused. You may return to your residence or to any places you wish to go. I wish you all the best. Court officers, please work with the Westsu units to send Mr. Chun Somon to his residence or to anywhere he wishes to go. You may be accused. And next, the chamber will proceed to hear 2TCW 917.
សាកសីនេះមានមេ
And the upcoming witness is assisted by Duty Counsel Sochita. Court officer, please invite the witness together with the Duty Counsel into the courtroom. President, you may proceed now. International Deputy Co-Prosecutor.
Merci. Thank you, and good morning, Mr. President, and good morning, Your Honors. Good morning to all parties. Before the witness appears in the courtroom, I would like to submit an application to the Chamber regarding this specific witness. In fact, when I was preparing my examination for this witness, who is the only witness with the civil party who has just testified, he is the only witness who is going to be testifying on the purges in the East Zone. And I noted when I was preparing that it will be very difficult to finish my examination in 2 sessions, especially since we have to share time with the civil parties. Given that there are quite a few topics to cover, and as I said, this is an important witness. He is the son of an important cadre from the East Zone. So I don't know if the Chamber and the parties share my opinion in that regard. But here in the prosecution, we believe that 1 extra session would allow us to cover all of the topics that we have to cover. And if this is granted, the same amount of time will naturally be given to the defense too. So I don't know if you need more details regarding the topics that I will cover. I can provide you with these, but on an exceptional basis, I'm making this request before the witness even appears in this courtroom, because it's obvious that we will need more time. Thank you in advance.
President, the Chamber will take the request into consideration when it comes to the examination of the witness. In case of necessity, the Chamber will consider the appropriate time for parties at the end of this testimony of this witness. Court officer, please invite Duty Counsel together with the witness into the courtroom. President, good morning, Mr. Witness. What is your name? Answer. My name is Mia Suan. President, thank you, Mr. Mia Suan. Do you recall when you were born, Mr. Mia Suan? Please pause a little bit, Mr. Mia Suan. When you give a little bit pause, that can allow you to listen carefully to the question and to think of the appropriate answer. And it will also assist the technician in operating the equipment, as well as it will assist the interpreters to interpret you into other languages. For example, namely French and English. They are the official languages in this courtroom. Again, do you recall when you were born, Mr. Witness? Answer. I was born on 11 of June 1952. President, what is your birthplace? Answer. I was born in Pno village, Rumchek sub-district, Memot district, previously Kampong Cham, and now it is Bong Khmom province. President, thank you. And what is your current address? Answer. I am living in Thmai village, Ta Khamau commune, Ta Khamau district, Kanda province. Question. What is your current occupation? I am a member of Kanda Provincial Committee. Question. What are your parents' names? Answer. My father's name is Mia Seng Hong alias John, and my mother's name is Paul Wan Tien alias Kon. President, thank you. And what about your wife? What is her name and how many children do you have? Answer. Her name is Kat Savan. I have 5 children and 1 adopted child. President, thank you, Mr. Mia Suan. Based on the report of the greffier, you have no relationship by blood or by law to any of the two accused, Nguyen Chi and Khieu Samphan, or to any of the civil parties admitted in this case. Is the report correct? Answer. That is correct. And I was also informed that you have already taken a note. You already took a note yesterday before your appearance in this courtroom. Is that report also correct? Answer. That is correct. President, I am now informing you of your rights and obligation as a witness before this chamber. Mr. Misun, as a witness in the proceedings before the chamber, you may refuse to respond to any question or to make any comment which may incriminate you, your right against self-incrimination, your obligations. As a witness, you as a witness must respond to any questions by the bench or relevant parties, except where your response or comment to those questions may incriminate you, as the chamber has just informed you of your rights as a witness. As a witness, you must tell the truth that you have known, heard, seen, remembered, experienced, or observed directly about an event or occurrence relevant to the questions that the bench or parties pose to you. Mr. Misun, have you ever been interviewed by the investigators of the OCIJ? If so, how many times did they take place and where? Answer. Yes, I was interviewed once in Takmau Kanda province. President, Thank you. Before your appearance, have you read or reviewed the written record of the interview you gave to investigator to refresh your memory? Yes, I read it, Mr. President. Question: to the best of your recollection and knowledge, does the record of the interview you read and reviewed correspond to the interview you gave to the investigator at Takmau back in the past? Answer: it is consistent, Mr. President. In accordance with Internal Rule 91 bis of the ECCC, the Chamber gives first the floor to the co-prosecutors to put question before other parties. The combined time for the co-prosecutors and lead co-lawyers for civil parties is 2 sessions. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, witness. My name is Vincent de Wilde, and I'm going to put questions to you on behalf of the co-prosecutors this morning. I'm going to ask you to listen to the questions carefully. I know that the events date back a long way, but I'm going to ask you to make an effort to remember and also to be as precise as well as concise as possible in your answers. I'm going to start by putting questions to you on your revolutionary history. And my first question is, when or during which period did you join the revolution? And who introduced you to the revolution?
Witness: I ran into the forest in 1968. The soldiers back in that period made us run into the forest, and all villagers, including me, ran into the forest. We did not know at the time that we, in fact, had joined the revolution. We ran into the forest out of fear.
When you went underground, did you follow your father? Did you find him again? And can you tell us if you worked with him?
Answer: no. I did not see him, and I did not work with him.
Can you tell us briefly, between 1968, when you went underground, and 17 April 1975, what were the different positions you held in the revolution?
After I went underground, up until 17 of April, rather 18 March 1970, I remained in the forest, and I kept fleeing to avoid being arrested.
And between the coup d'etat of 18 March 1970 and Sihanouk's appeal and the capture of Phnom Penh, What did you do in the revolution? Did you have any specific duties in the revolution?
Answer. I worked as a driver of a motorbike and a vehicle for my father.
What was your father's position during that period, between 1970 and 1975? What successive duties did he hold when you would drive him everywhere as his driver?
After the 1970 coup d'etat, up to 17th of April 1975, my father used to be a provincial governor and the deputy chief of Sector 21, and then became the chief of Sector 21. And lastly, he was the deputy chief of each zone, that is Sector 203.
A little point of clarification. When you told us that he was a provincial governor, does that mean that he was a district chief? Which I understand. Can you tell us, in that case, which locality he was the chief of at the very beginning, before he became the chief of Sector 21?
Answer. He was not the provincial governor, in fact. He was the district governor of Sector 21.
At answer 5 of your WRI index E3/5531, you said the following: I was one of my father's messengers since he was the head of Shlong district. This was after 17 April 1975 that I stopped working with my father. End of quote. So, can you confirm that he was the district chief of Shlong at the beginning?
Answer. Yes. Thank you.
Well, I have a question then regarding the period prior to 1970. Do you know if your father was already a member of the resistance, in particular with the Isarak fighters?
Which group or whom? For whom? Are you referring to my father?
Yes, indeed. I'm speaking about your father, Mi Seng Hong, therefore alias Chung. Was he among the Khmer Isarak?
I used to hear from elderly that he used to be part of Israel movement.
At the end of the 1960s and at the beginning of the 1970s, when your father was in Sector 21, therefore, did he develop any ties with Pol Pot and Nun Chea? Did he meet them, for example?
I do not know about that.
In order to be sure that you do not remember anything about this, I'm going to read to you what an academic, Ben Kiernan, said about your father. This in his book, How Pol Pot Came to Power, E3/1815, at English ERN 00487327, and Khmer at 00104787 or 88. And this is what Ben Kiernan states, and I will quote in English.
For their part, Pol Pot and Nuon Chea are reported to have developed close ties with the Deputy Party Secretary of the Eastern Zone's Region 21, a former Isarak guerrilla named Seng Hong, alias Chan. According to Uch Boon Chun, the two leaders regularly stayed in Chan's house and gave him political instruction. And then Ben Kiernan quotes Uch Boon Chun saying, "They trusted Chan more than Sao Pim," end of quote.
President, please hold on, Mr. Winner. You have the floor now. Copper.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honours. In itself, of course, I do not have a problem if the prosecution quotes from an academic. However, it is interesting that Kiernan is quoted in this respect because there's another academic who holds an opposing view as to relations between Chan on the one hand and Pol Pot and Nuon Chea on the other hand, and that is an academic who has extensively worked for the prosecution, Steve Hedder. So for completeness sake, Mr. President, I would like to refer to E3/3995. That is an article written by Stephen Hedder in English ERN 00773-726, French 00802-812, and Khmer 00844-574 until 5. In this article, Hedder, as I said, holds a completely opposing view and calls Chan very much in accordance with Sao Pim's policy. So to selectively quote from academic work, I don't think that is correct. So at least it should be known that it is selectively quoting from academic research.
Je crois qu'il s'agit d'une...
I think this is another type of objection, Mr. President. Of course, I am quoting a passage from a researcher. I'm not saying that I share the conclusions of that researcher, but I just want to hear the witnesses' reactions to that. The counsel may quote whatever document he wishes to quote. I'm not referring to all the research by all the researchers. So may I continue to put my questions to the witness, Mr. President?
Yes, you may continue.
Donc, Monsieur le témoin, dans la citation que je...
Witness, in light of the quotation I read out to you, the quotation by researcher Ben Kiernan, he thought that there were strong links and trust between Pol Pot, Nuon Chea and your father. Did you learn anything regarding that, particularly when you were your father's messenger? Did you see him meet Pol Pot and Nuon Chea, or did he talk to you about such encounters?
I did not know about that, nor did I see the two speak to one another. During the regime, I did not know the faces of these two people.
Pour être complet,
For the purpose of completeness on this subject, before talking about your personal history, you stated that at a point in time your father became the deputy chief of the East Zone. In addition to holding such a position, was he also the secretary of a double region, that is, double regions 23 and 24? Can you tell us whether that is the case? Was it when he was also deputy chief of the East Zone?
Yes, he was.
est-ce que vous pourriez nous donner quelques...
Can you give us some dates regarding, for instance, the time when your father became chief of Region 21, leaving the position of district head of Shillong? I believe it was before 1975. Can you please give us a more specific date?
I do not recall the specific date. However, that happened around 1971 or 72.
Et à partir de quand est-il...
And as from when did he become the deputy chief of the East Zone?
I recall that it was before 17 April 1975, so I could say that it happened in around 1974.
Avez-vous jamais su qui a nommé...
Did you ever know who appointed your father deputy chief of the East Zone? Was it a decision by Sao Pim or a decision by the party center?
Witness, please hold on, and Councillor Victor Copper, you have the floor.
I object to this question. 1974, there certainly is no either or. Sao Pim was just as part of the party center as other East Zone members. So making the witness answer based on this choice, I don't think is in accordance with historical reality. So Sao Pim, as is confirmed by his appointment in 1976, was still very much part of the center.
Je vais juste reformuler cette...
I'll simply rephrase the question. Do you know whether your father was appointed by Sao Pim at the time when he became deputy chief, or he was appointed by someone at another level?
I never saw any written document, and I did not know from which level the authority came to appoint my father as a district secretary, as deputy secretary of the East Zone or chief of a sector. I never saw any written authorization, nor did I know anything about who actually authorized or made that appointment.
Je vais revenir à votre parcours à vous.
I would now like to talk about your personal history. Were you a member of the Party Youth League? And if yes, from what year?
I was not a member of the Youth League.
Avez-vous jamais été membre du parti?
Were you ever a member of the Cambodia Communist Party?
But
Yes, I was a member of the party.
Et à peu près à quelle date êtes-vous?
And from what date did you become member of the party?
President Venus, please hold on. And Councillor Kongsamon, you have the floor. Kongsamon, thank you, Mr. President. I would like the witness to clarify his response. The question was about whether the witness was a member of the CPK, but he says that he is a member of the People's Party. International Deputy Co-Prosecutor, you should also specify the time period since the witness was not a member of the Youth League. And you should specify as to which period he became a party of a certain organization or party of the CPK.
C'était justement la question que je...
That was precisely the question I put to the witness, Mr. President. Witness, I'm indeed referring to the Cambodia Communist Party. And you have to tell me whether it was before the 17th of April 1975 or thereafter that you became a member of that party. And could you please specify the date on which you became a member?
It was before 17 April 1975, and it was in 1974 when I became a member of the party.
Peut-être une dernière question.
And this will be perhaps my last question before the break. You became a member of the party approximately in 1974. Were you already married at the time?
no,
No, I was not.
Et à quel moment vous êtes-vous marié?
And when did you get married? Was it during the regime or after 1979?
I got married during the Khmer Rouge regime, and it happened in late 1976. President, thank you. It is now convenient for a short break. We take a break now and resume at 10:30 to continue our proceedings. Court officer, please assist the witness at the waiting room reserved for witnesses and civil parties, and invite him as well as his duty counsel back into the courtroom at 10:30. The court is now in recess.